What's up, guys? We are back with a full slate of MLB action here on Tuesday, July 9th. Monday was a tough short slate. We got a weird runaround there with a late pitching scratch, but we ended up coming out of the day 3-0 overall. We had the Reds minus 184. They came through for the win in that game, and we also had the under in that one, the Colorado-Cincinnati under 9.5. That one was good as gold the whole way. So starting things off 2-0 there, very solid. We had the Twins minus 184, and they made it a tight one, but they ended up eventually coming away with the win there. It was a crazy, crazy game, but hey, a win is a win. We will take it. So put it on the board, 3-0 on the day. We had to scratch that Atlanta minus 1.5 pick when late in the day we saw that Chris Sale was getting scratched for an extra day of rest so they could start Bryce Elder. So yeah, had to scratch that one. I let as many people know in the comments as I possibly could and added it to the pinned comment. So it's important, guys, before games start, you should probably be checking that pinned comment to see if there's any late additions. But let's keep things rolling into Tuesday with a full slate and see if we can find some more wins. Before we get into the games, guys, do me a big favor and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got the Chicago Cubs going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. The Cubs come into this game fresh off a pretty solid showing there against the Angels. I mean, they did get shut out in one game, so that's not amazing, but they did win 2 out of 3 there. Desperately a win needed in that series. They are currently in last place in the NL Central, 42-49 in the season. Handing the ball in this one to Shota Imanaga, who's 7-2 this year with a 3.16 ERA. He's coming off of a decent start against the Phillies. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. He gave up 2 home runs in that game, which is a pretty big concern when you're about to take on a team like the Orioles. In general, he hasn't looked the best over his last 3 outings, so we have our questions about him right now. We also have some questions about that Cubs bullpen, guys. They are probably down in the bottom half of the league by this point. Their bullpen ERA is somewhere around 4.20, just not having a great timing. A 4.21 bullpen ERA is not a great one. So we've got some questions about this pen. We also have some questions about the bats right now, guys. This team has not been great offensively this season. They've scored 5, 0, and 5 runs respectively over their last 3 games. They did have a 10-run outburst against the Phillies in Game 3 of that series, but other than that, they did not hit the ball well for a solid stretch there, leaning a lot on guys like Bellinger to carry the load, and Happ. I mean, Happ's had some big games this season, but yeah, just not enough production there in this lineup, in my opinion, guys. 26th in the majors in batting average overall, 19th in the majors in runs scored. They're not a good power team either. Like, this is just not a team you're super scared of at the plate, and they're going to need to score some runs going up against the Orioles, who come into this game 57-33 on the year. Handing the ball in this one to Dean Kremer, who's 4-4 this season with a 3.93 ERA. He's coming off a very good start at Seattle, which it's against the Mariners, so, you know, not an amazing hitting team, but it was on the road, and he looked good in that one. And Seattle's pretty tough at home. He went 5 innings, gave up 2 hits and no runs. He struck out 8 and walked 2, and yeah, pretty solid stuff in his first start back off the IL. So good things from Kremer right now. It's been pretty much good things from this Orioles bullpen almost all season long. They've had their hiccups, don't get me wrong. They had a weird stretch there a bit ago, but it seems like they're back on track and they're still showing above average numbers in terms of bullpen ERA and stuff like that. So not too worried about this bullpen, and also not too worried about this offense, guys. Seems like they're getting back on track. They did have that crazy game where they gave up 19 runs and they lost 19-8. They still scored 8 runs in that game, which isn't terrible, obviously, but they've scored 6, 8, 3, and 3 runs respectively over their last few games. I think this squad is ready to get back on track at the plate. I mean, we see Gunnar Henderson absolutely killing it all season long. Like, this has just been an elite offensive team. They're tied for first in the majors in runs scored. They are first in the majors in slugging percentage. Like, this is a power hitting team, and they're going up against a guy that's been giving up some home runs. So look at the numbers for this game. We see the Cubs at plus 136. We see the Orioles at minus 152. We've got over-unders showing out there of 9.5 or 8.5, which is a little bit odd. The Cubs, man, they are a terrible road team. They're only 17-28 on the road. The Baltimore, very good at home. They're 29-17 at home. We see mixed trends towards the over-under. The Cubs are a significant under team. The Orioles are a significant over team. So really not interested in the over-under in this game, guys, but I am interested in the Orioles minus 152. I think there's a very good chance they win this game. I also think there's a solid chance they win this game by more than 1.5. So if you wanted to take them against the run line, you can get them all the way up to around plus 125 or plus 130. That's very appealing. In general, guys, we'll just have to see if we get greedy or not, but I like the Orioles to win this game a very good amount. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Detroit Tigers. The Guardians come into this game fresh off of a tough 1-0 loss there in Game 1 of the series. Not their best stuff out there. Pretty boring game, obviously, but Cleveland is 56-33 this season, so I'm sure they're not sweating it too hard. They're handing the ball in this game to Ben Lively, who's 8-4 this year with a 3.14 ERA, coming off of a kind of a struggle of an outing there against the White Sox. I mean, it was a game we saw Cleveland end up win 8-4, so that's fine. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. Maybe he just wasn't as locked in as he's supposed to be. We do see a lot of pitchers have these weird bad games against the White Sox. His start before that at Kansas City, a pretty tough place to pitch. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits and 2 earned runs. So we're not too worried about Ben Lively here. I think he's going to be absolutely fine out there, and we're super duper not worried about the Cleveland bullpen guys. They've been pretty much the best bullpen in the MLB recently, and yeah, just overall looking very, very good. A sub 3, a 2.59 ERA coming out of the pen for them is fantastic stuff. The bats have kind of been another question, guys. I mean, they're coming off a game where they got absolutely shut out, so that's a pretty big concern, but they had scored 5, 5, and 2 runs, respectively, in their series against the San Francisco Giants, so maybe just having to go on the road here kind of, gave the hitters a little bit of a curveball, for lack of a better term, but Steven Kwan's out there batting over 350 still. We've got Jose Ramirez killing the ball. This team's still top 10 in runs scored and top 10 in slugging percentage. They're 10th in the majors, getting on base at a 320 mark. Like, this is not a terrible offense. They're hoping they can keep things rolling here against the Tigers, or actually get back on track against the Tigers after getting shut out. The Tigers are playing some of their best ball in recent memory. They've won 5 of their last 6 and 4 in a row. They're 43-48 on the season, so still lots of work to be done. They're handing the ball in this one to Kenta Maeda. He is 2-5 this season with a 6.71 ERA, coming off of an absolute debacle at the Twins. He gave up 9 runs on 9 hits over 3 2/3 innings, so not exactly amazing stuff there. He's going to need to turn things around, and it could be pretty tough for him to turn things around against Cleveland, a team that absolutely shelled him back in May, so definitely have some questions here about Maeda. The Tigers bullpen comes into this game not exactly looking amazing, but not terrible. I mean, they're around MLB average, a 4.22 bullpen ERA. Not a complete disaster, but definitely not great. Not a bullpen you're satisfied. Just hand them the ball with a 1-run lead and expect to win that game. So definitely some questions there. Also some questions about this offense. I mean, despite the fact they've won their last 4 games in a row, they haven't scored more than 5 runs in any of those games. They scored 1, 5, 5, and 5 runs respectively there. So just not amazing. I mean, Riley Green's leading the way. He's great. He's fine. I'm not going to say great. He's fine, but just not a lot of great things to say about an offense that's 21st in the majors in runs scored and 25th in the majors in batting average. They're also 3rd to last in the majors in on-base percentage. So just not a great offense. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, see Cleveland, not a bad road team, 26-21 on the road. The Tigers are only 19-22 at home. Looking at the over-under trends, we see Cleveland is 24, 20, and 3 to the under on the road, and Detroit is a slight over team at home. So not super interested in the over-under in this game, but we've got the Guardians at -140 and the Tigers at +130. Guys, go ahead and give me the Cleveland Guardians to win this game. I think they're going to go ahead and snap this little streak that Detroit is on. I think we're going to see the Cleveland bats come alive and things look much, much better for what is clearly the better team. Next up, guys, we're looking at probably the marquee series going on in the MLB right now. We've got the LA Dodgers going on the road to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Dodgers come into this game fresh off of a 9-2 loss against Milwaukee, but they did win 2 out of 3 in that series. They're sitting at 55-36 on the year. Handing the ball in this game to Bobby Miller, who's 1-1 this season with a 6.12 ERA. He is coming off of a better outing there. He was at home against the Diamondbacks. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs in a game we saw the Dodgers eventually win 6-5. So nice stuff there, but over his last 5 starts hasn't looked too hot. We've seen the Dodgers have actually lost 3 out of his last 5 starts, so not great there. Obviously, this Dodgers bullpen's been very good this season, so once he comes out of the game, the bullpen can pretty much be relied upon, but it's not necessarily a lockdown unit. I mean, a 3.34 bullpen ERA is good, but, if they have to come in and pitch, 5 or 4 or 5 innings, like that can be a little bit tough. And what do we really expect out of this offense right now? I mean, it's been a bit up and down. They scored 2, 5, 8, and 3 runs respectively over their last few games. Ohtani is really having to carry the load right now. I mean, Hernandez is doing his thing out there, but yeah, they need Mookie Betts to come back, and we still don't know exactly when that's going to be, so we'll just have to wait and see, but not necessarily an offense I'm as high on as I was at the beginning of the season. All that being said, they're 1st in the majors in on-base percentage and 3rd in the majors in runs scored. So, not the worst offense out there, but they can have their moments where they're not that great, and they're taking on the Phillies, who come into this game 58-32 this season. They just lost 2 out of 3 to the Atlanta Braves, so that's been a bit of a problem. The question for this team is, when are we going to see Bryce Harper come back, and when are we going to see this offense get back to full strength? It seems like there's a pretty good chance we're going to have Harper back for this game. That would be a big boost for this team, and we'll have to see when Kyle Schwarber is going to be coming back. I mean, it says he's going to be, he's going to be activated for this game. So is he going to start? Is he going to come off the bench or anything like that? I would assume he's just going to be in his normal spot in the lineup, and we're going to see the real version here of this Phillies offense, which obviously makes a very big difference here. Looking at, Zach Wheeler out there on the mound, that's a great thing. He's 9-4 this year with a 2.74 ERA coming off of a very good start. It was at the Cubs, so, maybe take it with a little grain of salt, but the dude hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs over any of his last 3 starts. He did have a terrible outing there against Baltimore, so yeah, I mean, you got to take that into account a little bit, but yeah, in general, guys, he has looked very good this season. Not a lot of concerns for me about Zach Wheeler, and also not a lot of concerns for me about this Phillies bullpen, guys. They've been top 5, top 10 all season long. This is a pretty good bullpen, 3.41 bullpen ERA. Pretty much right there in the same bracket of bullpens as the Baltimore Orioles. And looking at this offense, guys, with Harper and Schwarber going to be back out there, things should be looking up. They haven't looked good lately, obviously, but with 2 of your best hitters out there, what lineup would? They've scored 0, 1, and 8 runs respectively over their last 3 games, but I think now is the time they get back on track. Despite missing those 2 guys for the last 10 days, both of them, they're still 6th in the majors in runs scored, 3rd in the majors in batting average, batting .258 as a team, and 3rd in the majors in on-base percentage. So, not too worried about this offense. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Dodgers at plus 122. We've got the Phillies at minus 140. We've got an over-under of 9 in this game. The Dodgers are 26-17 on the road, but the Phillies are 33-13 at home. That's a pretty crazy number. We see both of these teams showing trends towards the under. They're not huge trends, but with both teams showing trends towards the under here and the number being set at 9, I don't think under 9 is a terrible play, but guys, I'm really leaning towards the Phillies minus 140 in this game. I think getting their 2 big guns back is really going to help them, and we're going to see them get back on track in this game in a big way. Honestly, if you wanted to take a minus 1.5, that would be fine with me. Personally, I'm probably not going to get greedy. I think I tend to lean towards just the minus 140. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the New York Yankees going on the road to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Yankees come into this game fresh off of a 3-0 loss there against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. They lost 2 out of 3 in that series. The one win they got, they did win 14-4, so that's fun, but at 55-37 on the year, they're not having the best time lately. They're handing the ball in this one to Carlos Rodon. He's 9-6 this season with an ERA all the way up to 4.45. This dude got off to an absolutely dominating start to his season and has just fallen off a cliff over his last 4 starts. His last time out maybe showed a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. He was going up against the Cincinnati Reds. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 3 hits and 3 earned runs, but he did give up 2 home runs, and he's given up 2, 2, and 3 home runs respectively over his last 3 games. It has just been absolutely tough out there for him, not able to find his way, and man, the Yankees bullpen hasn't exactly been finding its way lately either. It's been moving down the standings, just has not been as dominant as it was early in the season, so some questions about kind of this entire pitching staff in general, and also some questions about the bats. I mean, we've got Aaron Judge trying to carry the load here. He's doing what he can, but man, they got to get healthy or the things aren't going to look the same. I mean, obviously they've been missing Rizzo for a long time now. When are we going to actually end up seeing Stanton back? Still really no meaningful news on that front, so I don't expect to see him back for this game. So yeah, things looking a little bit rough for an offense that over the course of the season has obviously been very good, but maybe not so much lately. They're taking on the Tampa Bay Rays, who come into this game fresh off of getting swept in a 3-game series there at the Rangers, so that's not great. They're down to 44-46 on the season, hitting the ball in this one to Ryan Pepio, who's 4-5 this year with a 4.40 ERA. He's coming off a pretty good start there at the Royals. He went only 4 innings in that one, but gave up only 2 earned runs, and he's kind of trying to work himself back into form. We'll see how that goes. He's he's had some ups and downs this season. He's had some pretty solid outings for sure, but what are we going to get out of him here going up against the Yankees? Seems like a bit of a big ask for him right now, but if it's the Yankees not at full strength, maybe it's not that big of an ask. The Rays bullpen in general this season, guys, has not been among the league leaders at all. I mean, somewhere towards the bottom 5 to 8 teams in the MLB in terms of bullpen ERA, so that's not great. Not a bullpen you can trust to hold on to a lead, and the bats guys have not been there. They've scored 2, 3, and 0 runs respectively over their last 3 games. Just not a great offensive team, guys. 24th in the majors in runs scored and 26th in the majors in slugging percentage. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, it's a little bit surprising to see the Yankees at only minus 124. We've got the Rays at plus 106. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. We see the Yankees are 30-18 on the road. That's pretty impressive stuff. We see Tampa Bay is 23-25 at home, so that's obviously not amazing, but maybe more interesting in this game, guys, the trends towards the over. We see the Yankees are 25-20-3 to the over on the road. We see Tampa Bay is 24-21-3 and 3 to the over at home. With an over-under number of only 8, guys, I'm definitely leaning towards the over in this game. I could also wrap my head around taking the Yankees minus 124 if you think Rodon is going to continue to show improvement, and he's going up against a Rays team that's not exactly the hardest hitting, but I think we're much more likely to see a significant amount of offense in this game, with over 8 looking like some very good value. Next on the docket, we've got the Colorado Rockies going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. The Rockies come to this game fresh off of a 6-0 loss to the Reds in game 1 of this series, so not exactly what they were looking for. They're handing the ball in this game to Cal Quantrill, who is 6-6 this year with a 3.77 ERA, coming off a pretty good start there against the Brewers, a game we actually saw the Rockies win 5-4. In general, over his last 5 starts, I wouldn't say he's been dominant, but he's been pretty good, and he did have a dominant outing at the Twins, and his last start against the Brewers was very good, so we'll give him some credit. We're not going to give any credit to this Colorado Rockies bullpen, though. It's been the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball this season by a pretty wide margin. Also, the bats not looking great. They've combined to score 4 runs over their last 3 games combined. Pretty tough stuff out there. They're 20th in the majors in runs scored and 22nd in the majors in on-base percentage, and that is while they're getting to play half their games at Coors Field. So kind of rough stuff there from their bats. They're going to have to score some runs here going up against the Reds, who bounced back from getting swept in a 3-game series there against Detroit to get that win in game 1 here against Colorado. They're handing the ball in this game to Frankie Montas, who is 4-6 this season with a 4.19 ERA. He's coming off a pretty good start, and honestly, his last 3, maybe even we can give him credit for his last 4 starts, have all been very, very reasonable. I mean, at the Yankees, his last time out, he went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. They were both solo home runs, so that's not ideal, but he's looking much better lately. I've got to give the guy some credit. The Reds haven't been getting a lot of wins with him on the mound, but I mean, he had a start against the Cardinals where he went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits and 1 run, and struck out 5 and walked 3 in a game we eventually saw them lose 1-0. So that's not his fault at all. We're going to give Montas some credit here. We're also going to give some credit to this Reds bullpen that's been better than I expected this season for sure. They're clearly a top 10 bullpen, not a whole lot of change there. They've been looking very, very good recently, so definitely give them some credit there. And the bats came alive for 6 runs after having a pretty rough series there against Detroit, so we'll see if they can carry that over here going up against a pretty solid starter in Cal Quantrill, who has not faced the Reds yet this season, so it's going to be his first time going up against them this year. So we'll see what actually happens out there. But looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we get the Rockies at plus 145, the Reds at minus 158. We got over-under showing of 8.5 or 9 out there. The Rockies are only 12 and 31 on the road. That's pretty weak stuff. Cincinnati's only 20 and 26 at home, though, so that's not amazing. We see mixed trends towards the over-under. I mean, Colorado's a slight over team on the road. Cincinnati is a significant under team at home. So honestly, if you wanted to take a look at under 9, I could get behind that for sure. But in general, guys, I just like the Reds to go ahead and win this game. I know having Cal Quantrill out there can be a little bit of a concern, but he's only going to go 5, maybe 6 innings, and then you get to take at-bats off of that terrible bullpen. So give me the Reds in this one as a small lean. I don't know if this one's going to make it into the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Oakland A's going on the road to take on the Boston Red Sox. The A's come into this game fresh off of a 6-3 loss there against the Orioles. They did win 1 game in that 3-game series. They won it 19-8, so won it in style, but at 34 and 58 on the season, not exactly killing it. They're handing the ball to Joey Estes in this game, who's 3-3 this year with a 4.39 ERA, coming off of probably the best start of his career, or one of the best starts of his career. He went 9 innings, so a complete game there against the Angels. He gave up 5 hits and struck out 4, giving up 1 walk and no runs. So a complete game shutout. Great for him in that one, but man, what are we going to see from him here after such a long extended start? Gonna be kind of interesting. Seems like a tough spot for me. We often see pitchers struggle after getting stretched out for that long of a start, so we'll just have to wait and see. We'll also have to wait and see what we get from this Oakland A's bullpen, which, guys, not exactly amazing. They've been a little bit better than you would have expected. I mean, a 3.65 bullpen ERA is very good, climbing the standings in terms of bullpen ERA, but is this a bullpen that I 100% trust? Not quite, and I really don't trust this offense, guys. They have scored a grand total of 319, which is obviously crazy, but then 2 before that, they got shut out in back-to-back games by the Angels. Like, this team, just not a scary hitting team. They're 28th in the majors in runs scored and 27th in the majors on base percentage. They're only batting .224 as a squad. So not too worried about them putting up a ton of runs here against the Red Sox, who come into this game winners of 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. They're 49 and 40 on the season, handing the ball in this game to Brian Bello, who's 8 and 5 this year with a 5.19 ERA. He's coming off of a very reasonable start there at the Miami Marlins. He went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 7 hits and only a single earned run. He looked very good out there, was able to pitch his way out of trouble trouble a couple times. He had 7 strikeouts, didn't give up a home run, a big bounce back performance for him after getting shelled by the Toronto Blue Jays. So looking for something decent from Bello here, and also looking for something decent, hopefully, from this Baltimore Orioles bullpen, which has been pretty decent, guys. Not a terrible bullpen, around top 10, something like that this season in general. So feeling good about this bullpen, and also feeling pretty decent about these hitters. I mean, they're coming off a game they only scored 3 runs, but in general this season, and in general lately, it's been pretty decent. I mean, they've scored 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 runs respectively over their last 6 games. So looking pretty decent there up the plate. 13th in the majors in runs scored this season, top 10 in batting average, top 10 in on-base percentage. Like, this is a pretty good offensive team. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, I'm not too shocked to see the A's at plus 165, the Red Sox at minus 174. We've got an over-under of 10 in this game. Oakland is only 12 and 33 on the road this year, guys. That is pretty bad stuff. Boston, not great at home. They're only 20 and 23 at Fenway this season. In terms of the over-under, we do see both teams showing trends towards the under, but they're not super meaningful trends. I mean, Oakland is 25, 18, and 2 to the under on the road, but Boston's only 20, 19, and 4 to the under at home. So basically a 500 over-under team. In general, in this game, guys, I'm pretty interested in playing that trend of pitchers struggling after such long outings. I don't think we're going to see great stuff from Estes, and that makes me lean towards taking the Red Sox minus 1.5. If you take a minus 1.5, you can get them at plus 105. That seems very intriguing to me. So my 2 leans in this game are under 10 as a small lean, and a pretty substantial lean with a chance to end in the pin comment with the Boston Red Sox minus 1.5. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the New York Mets. The Nationals come into this game fresh off of a 6-0 loss there to the Cardinals. They lost 2 out of 3 in that series, or 3 out of 4 in that series. I mean, things didn't look ideal for them. They're 42 and 49 on the year, handing the ball in this game to Jake Irvin, who's 7 and 6 this season with a 2.80 ERA, coming off a dominant start against the Mets. So pretty interesting stuff. He's going to get to go up against the Mets again. The last time he faced him, he went 8 innings, gave up only a single hit while striking out 8 and walking 1. Dominant stuff. He's looked very good in pretty much all of his last 5 starts. At least 4 of his last 5 starts have been excellent. So we'll see what he can do against the Mets here, facing them again. We'll also see what this Washington Nationals bullpen can do. Not having the best time. A 4.15 bullpen ERA is not ideal. The bats have looked very quiet lately. Also, guys, they've scored 0, 3. They did have a 14-run game in that series against St. Louis, but 6, 1, like not an amazing offensive team, guys. We're seeing CJ Abrams hit a little bit of a slump again. This team's only 17th in the majors in runs scored. They're all the way down to 24th in the majors in slugging percentage. Not necessarily an offense that I'm super scared of. They're going up against the New York Mets, who just lost 8-2 in the last game of their series against the Pirates to end up splitting that series 2-2. They're 44 and 45 on the year. Seems like they've kind of come back to earth after that wild hot streak they were on. They're handing the ball in this one to Jose Quintana, who's 3 and 5 this year with a 4.22 ERA. His last time out was against the Nationals as well. It was a game that he really deserved to get the win in. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits and no runs while walking 3 and striking out 1 in a game that we saw the Mets lose 1-0. So both pitchers coming off of excellent outings against the team that they're facing, no doubt about that. The Mets bullpen in general, guys, has been trending in a positive direction, but it still isn't great. It's right there next to the Nationals bullpen. A 4.16 bullpen ERA is not amazing, and the bats also haven't looked great lately. I mean, they've scored 2, 3, 5, and 2 runs respectively over their series against Pittsburgh, and their series against the Nationals wasn't amazing either. So facing the Nationals again, we'll see if the bats can awaken, but it seems like a bit of a big ask even for a team that's 11th in the majors in runs scored. So looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Nationals at plus 115, the Mets at minus 126. We got over-under showing of 8.5 or 8. Washington is 22 and 25 on the road. The Mets are 21 and 24 at home, so not a lot to go off of there. We see both teams are showing slight trends towards the under. Washington is 23, 22, and 2 to the under on the road. The Mets are 24, 21, and 21 to the under at home. So in general in this game, guys, I do tend to think the Nationals plus 115 has a little bit of value, but the main part of this that I like is the under. I think under 8.5, you can still find 8.5s out there. Seems very, very reasonable to me. I think offense is going to be at a premium in this game, and we're going to see a lot of good pitching. Next on the docket, guys, we've got a rivalry game between the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Royals come into this game fresh off of a 10-1 win there to salvage a win in that series at Colorado. Now they head to St. Louis for definitely a rivalry game. The Royals are 49 and 43 this season, handing the ball to Michael Wacha, who's 5 and 6 this year with a 3.74 ERA. He comes into this game fresh off of a great start against the Tampa Bay Rays. He gave up only 2 hits and a single earned run over 6 innings in a game that we saw the Royals win 4-2. The Royals are 2-0 over his last couple starts, but the dude has not allowed more than 2 earned runs over any of his last 5 outings. Very, very good stuff from Wacha. Looks like he's at full strength again after coming off the IL, and things are just going his way. The Royals Royals bullpen, on the other hand, maybe things not exactly going their way, guys. They are down in the bottom 10, I want to say, in the majors with a 4.37 bullpen ERA. This was a very good bullpen earlier on in the season, but right now things just have not been great. So that's definitely a concern in this game. Another concern has been this offense. It's been very inconsistent lately. They've scored 10, 1, 2, 8, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. Bobby Witt Jr. has been trying to carry the load for this squad, but man, it is a heavy load at this point. This team is down to 12th in the majors in runs scored. They were top 5 at one point. They were also somewhere around top 5 or top 8 in team batting average. They're down to 13th in the majors, like just not swinging the hottest bats right now. So that's definitely a concern going up against the Cardinals, who swinging the bats pretty well. Maybe the best they've swung them all season long. The Cardinals are 48 and 42 this season, handing the ball to Andre Pallante, who is coming off of a very good start there at Pittsburgh, guys. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, and only a single earned run. We haven't seen him give up more than, he had that terrible start against the Giants that the Cardinals actually won 6-5, but the Cardinals are 4-1 over his last 5 starts, and most of those have been excellent performances. So seeing great things out of Pallante right now, feel pretty good about him on the mound. Also feeling much better about this Cardinals bullpen, guys. They are all the way up to 5th in the majors with a 3.40 bullpen ERA. This bullpen was terrible early on, but they've really put things together and are looking good now. Also, the bats have come alive, guys. They've scored 6, 8, and 6 runs respectively over their last 3 games. They scored 6 in the game before that, so a very good offensive series there against the Nationals to win 3 out of 4. And yeah, things are just looking good. I mean, we see Nootbaar coming back off the injury list, which could be nice potentially at some point. Goldschmidt's hit a solo home run for the Cardinals, so that's a good sign. Burleson looking good. Like, yeah, things are just looking much better for this offense. They're up to 22nd in the majors in runs scored. They're hovering around league average in stats like batting average and on base percentage. Wilson Contreras coming back is a big deal. Like, this team is swinging some hot bats. So look at the numbers for this game, guys. The Royals are plus 100. The Cardinals are minus 118. We've got an over-under of 8 in this game. The Royals are 18 and 25 on the road. Not great on the road. The Cardinals are 23 and 18 at home, so a pretty good home team. We also see some pretty significant trends towards the under, guys. The Royals are 25, 15, and 3 to the under on the road. The Cardinals are 22 and 19 to the under at home. Unfortunately for us, that under number is sitting at 8, so I don't really think we're going to be taking under 8 in this game, although I guess I wouldn't blame you too much, but better than the under 8, guys. I think I like the Cardinals minus 118. Pallante's been looking so good out there lately, and their bullpen's been looking good, so go ahead and give me the Cardinals in this game as a small lean. Is this a homer pick? Maybe just like 1% of this is a homer pick, but I do think this is pretty reasonable value. Next on the docket, guys, we look at the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. The Marlins come into this game winners of 2 out of their last 3 and their last 2 in a row. They looked good in that series. It was against the White Sox, so let's not freak out. But they're handing the ball in this game to Trevor Rogers, who's 1-9 this year with a 4.91 ERA, coming off of a 3-inning start there against the Boston Red Sox. He went 3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. So not exactly amazing stuff there. It was a game we saw the Marlins lose. No shock there, but the dude has had some very good starts over his last 5. It just hasn't panned out for him to get any wins because he pitches for the Miami Marlins. The Marlins bullpen, also not going to shock anybody, is not great, but they've done some positive things lately. They're down to a 4.03 bullpen ERA, so that's something positive for a team that really has to cling to whatever positives they can find. They've been swinging the bats a little bit better lately. I mean, they've scored 7, 4, and 2 runs respectively in their series against the White Sox, but they're 29th in the majors in runs scored and dead last in the majors in on-base percentage. So not exactly an offense that I'm ready to freak out about. They're taking on the Houston Astros, who come into this game fresh off of a pretty mediocre series there at the Twins. The Astros continue to have kind of a hard time playing on the road. They're 46 and 44 on the season, only 2 games back of the struggling Seattle Mariners, so I'm sure they feel pretty good about that. They're handing the ball in this game to Ronald Blanco, another thing for them to feel good about, guys. He's 8 and 3 this season with a 2.53 ERA, coming off of a decent start at Toronto. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. He struck out 4 and walked 2 in that one. A nice bounce back after just getting absolutely dismantled at the New York Mets. So things are looking a little bit back on track for him here. We'll see how he, see how he puts things together here against the Miami Marlins. Not exactly a great hitting team, and we'll see how this Houston bullpen looks in this matchup too. They've been okay this season, trending in a positive direction with a 3.81 bullpen ERA. Definitely looking a lot better now than they did in the early goings, and the bats have also been looking better generally speaking, but the last couple of games a bit concerning, guys. They've scored 2 and 3 runs respectively over their last 2. They did have a 13-run outburst in game 1 of that series at Minnesota, but yeah, this offense pretty inconsistent. They're 10th in the majors in runs scored. They're first in batting average, batting .264 as a team, 8th in the majors in on-base percentage. So, you know, not a bad offense at all. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Marlins are big underdogs. We got the Marlins at plus 188, the Astros at minus 205. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. Miami is only 14-27 on the road. Houston is 24-19 at home. So definitely leaning towards Houston in terms of a side in this game. I would think you would probably want to take them minus 1.5, as a price of minus 205 is not super appealing stuff. And if you take a minus 1.5, you can get them around minus 110, which seems relatively reasonable to me. In terms of an over-under for this game, we see Miami is a pretty big under team when they're playing on the road. They're 27-14 to the under on the road. We see Houston is 23-13-3 to the under at home. So under 8.5 also looking pretty good in this game. So those would be my two leans for this one, guys. The Astros minus 1.5 or that under 8.5. Will either one of these end up in the pinned comment? We'll just have to wait and see. Seems like a bit of a long shot. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the Minnesota Twins going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. The Twins come into this game winners of the last 3 in a row. They won game 1 of this series 8-6. Made things very, very interesting in extra innings there, but hey, we will take it. Put that win on the board. They're handing the ball in this one to Bailey Ober, who's 8-4 this season with a 4.12 ERA, coming off of a pretty decent start there against the Tigers. Yeah, that was a weird game. It ended in 7 innings. We saw tons of offense from the Twins, and Ober gave up 3 runs. Only one of them was earned, though, so kind of weird stuff out there. But over his last 4 starts, at least, he's looked very, very good. Has it been against the toughest opponents? No. Are we considering the White Sox a tough opponent? Absolutely not. The Twins bullpen has had their problems this year. There's no doubt about that, but things have been looking up a bit lately. They're somewhere around top 10, top 12 in the majors in bullpen ERA, and yeah, things are pointed in the right direction for this pen that's had the struggles this season for sure, and this offense is very much pointed in the right direction, guys. They've scored 8, 3, 9, and 12 runs respectively over their last 4 games. They scored 12 in the game before that. Things are just humming right along. They're 4th in the majors in runs scored this year overall. They're batting .255 as a team, which is 6th in the majors. They're getting on base at a .325 mark. They're one of the best slugging percentage teams in the majors too. Like, this is just a potent offense. Hoping they can rack up a bunch of runs here against the White Sox, who come into this game losers of their last 3 in a row. They put up a fight there in game 1, no doubt about it, but at 26-67 on the year, not a whole lot for them to fight about, and they're going to go up against a pretty tough starter, though, in this one in Eric Feedy, who's 6-3 this year with a 3.13 ERA. Dazzling numbers to be putting up pitching for the Chicago White Sox, who are having pretty much a season from hell. Yeah, in general, I mean, over his last couple starts, he did have a bad start against the Dodgers. His last time out against Cleveland was very, very good, though, so I think we can kind of safely expect him to be back on track, and way earlier in the season, he did have a very good outing against the Minnesota Twins, so that's definitely something to take into account. Ober, very early in the season, had a kind of rough start against the White Sox, so that's also some little thing to worry about. The White Sox bullpen is definitely something to worry about, too, guys. They've been bottom 5 in the majors in bullpen ERA pretty much all season long, so not a pen you can really trust, and obviously not an offense you can trust. They've scored 6, 4, and 3 runs respectively over their last 3, which honestly is a ton of production from this offense. They're dead last in the majors in runs scored and slugging percentage, and second to last in both batting average and on-base percentage. So terrible offense. Not going to waste a bunch of time talking about that. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Twins at minus 154. We see the White Sox at plus 145. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Twins are 24-21 on the road. We see the White Sox are an MLB worst, 16-29 at home. So obviously that's going to make me lean towards the Twins, but man, how much can we lean towards the Twins with Feedy on the mound going against them, who's had success against them this season and has had success lately? So in general in this game, guys, it's kind of a tough spot. I tend to look maybe at the over-under for this game. We see the White Sox are 26-17-2 to the under at home. We see the Twins are basically a 50-50 over-under team on the road. So maybe if you wanted to take a look at the no-run first inning in this game or something like that could make sense. But in general, guys, this is pretty much going to be a stay-away spot for me with maybe a slight lean towards under 8.5. Moving right along here, guys, we've got an NL Central showdown between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Pirates come into this game fresh off of an 8-2 win there over the Mets to salvage the 2-2 split there in that 4-game series. They're 43-47 on the season. We don't have a confirmed starter for them in this game, which is pretty concerning stuff. I mean, over the course of the season, they're 4th in the majors in quality starts, so that's pretty nice. But if this is going to be a full bullpen start from the Pirates, which is definitely looking like a possibility, their 4.51 bullpen ERA is a major concern. This has not been a great bullpen over the course of the season. Yeah, and I mean, while the starting pitching has been good at times, I mean, when it's not Skeens, how pumped are we about it really? So we'll just have to see how things end up shaping up for this one, but a little bit worried about the Pirates pitching situation in this one for sure. Are we worried about their offense? Well, they've scored 8, 2, 2, and 14 runs over their 4-game series against the Mets, so that's pretty nice, but yeah, we have some questions about this offense, guys. They're 23rd in the majors in runs scored over the course of the season. I'm not not going to say they don't have some monsters out there, because Brian Reynolds is an absolute monster, but there's a reason they're 27th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're 25th in the majors getting on base at an under 300 clip. Like, this offense has some question marks on it, no doubt about it. And they're taking on the Milwaukee Brewers in this game, who are a very good offensive team. They only won 1 out of 3 there against the Dodgers, but that was at LA and it was a little bit tough out there. I mean, the Brewers are 53-38 on the year. They're handing the ball to Colin Ray, who's been lights out lately. He's 8-2 this season with a 3.34 ERA, coming off of a dominant shutout performance over 6 innings against the Colorado Rockies. So very, very positive stuff there. He's only had 1 mediocre outing over his last 5, and that was on the road against the Padres. So things have looked pretty good for him in general. The last time he faced the Pirates, he went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs in a game that we eventually saw the Brewers lose 8-6. So that is something to take into consideration. He didn't have a great time against them in his last outing, but, you know, it also wasn't a disaster of a time. And the Brewers bullpen in general should kind of be able to pick things up for him if he does have some struggles out there, guys. They are 3rd in the majors with a 3.29 bullpen ERA, which is fantastic. No need to tell you that. I mean, this offense too has been very good over the course of the season. They're top 10 in runs scored, top 4 in batting average, batting 256 as a team. They're getting on base at a 332 clip. They're right there around league average in terms of slugging percentage, but they scored 9, 3, 5, and 4 runs respectively over their last few games. So they're kind of due for some offensive outbursts here. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, you see the Pirates at plus 138, the Brewers at minus 164. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Pirates are 21-23 on the road. Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee is 27-13 at home. That is a pretty solid home record there, guys. We also see some mixed trends towards the over-under. I mean, Milwaukee is a big over team playing at home, so we might have to take a look at that over depending on who we end up getting the start for the Pirates. But in general, guys, I think this is just going to be a good spot to take the Brewers at minus 164. I think I know they're a very good home team. Colin Ray has been looking great out there lately. Go ahead and give me the Brewers. Rounding into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at the Texas Rangers going on the road to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Rangers come into this game winners of their last 4 in a row. They won game 1 of this series against the Angels 9-4, so that was pretty cool. We saw Seager hit an absolute bomb. We got 3 hits from Lowe. Like, the Rangers looked fantastic in their game. They're probably pumped to hand the ball to Max Scherzer in this one. He's 1-2 this season with a 2.70 ERA, coming off of a decent but maybe not dominant start there against the Padres. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. He did give up a home run in that outing. He struck out 3 and walked 1, but having faced the Royals, the Orioles, and the Padres over his 3 starts this year, he's looked very, very reasonable. Not really his fault. The Rangers are only 1-2 over those starts, so he's looked good, no doubt about it. The Rangers bullpen is 22nd in the majors in terms of bullpen ERA. Not exactly a pen you can trust a ton. And the bats, though, the bats have been carrying them lately, guys. They've scored 9, 13, 4, and 3 runs respectively over their last 4 games. Looking pretty good out there. Obviously, Seager's swinging the bat well. This team's 15th in the majors in runs scored. Definitely numbers that are trending up. So we expect some pretty decent things from this offense right now. And what are we going to get from them going up against the Angels, who come into this game losers of their last 2 in a row? They have not been having a good time lately at all. They're 37-53 on the year. Handing the ball in this one to Roansy Contreras, who, yeah, I mean, his last time out, his last 2 outings have both been starts. He hasn't gone deeper than 3 innings into the game, and they were both against the Oakland A's. So going up against a team like the Rangers seems like a pretty big ask for what is effectively a bullpen guy that really hasn't even been all that amazing. So we've got some questions about their starting pitching situation, and we have even more questions about this bullpen, guys. A 4.70 bullpen ERA over the course of the season is absolutely terrible. The bats have been very all over the place lately. They've scored 4, 0, 7, and 1 run respectively over their last few. They got shut out in 2 games at Oakland. Like, that is absolutely embarrassing stuff. So not feeling great about how this team is swinging the bats right now. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Rangers at minus 162, the Angels at plus 145. We got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. The Rangers are only 18-27 on the road, but the Angels are 18-26 at home. So yeah, not a lot to glean from that. These are both 50-50 over-under teams too, so not a lot to look at in terms of the over-under. I would tend to lean maybe slightly towards the over, but in general in this game, guys, I think the value is taking the Rangers minus 162, or maybe even minus 1.5 if you want to think they're going to take advantage of those very mediocre Angels bats that are ice cold right now. So go ahead and give me the Rangers in this game. But is this going to end up in the pin comment? I would say it's got an outside chance, since we got Max Scherzer on the mound and an unknown there, a kind of unknown pitching for the Angels. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Atlanta Braves going on the road to take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Braves come into this game fresh off of a crazy 5-4 win there in game 1 of this series. The Braves tried to screw us over there with switching out Sale. That was a super weird one. I hope you guys caught that. We changed the pinned comment as soon as we found out, which was like 3 or 4 hours before first pitch in that game. So yeah, very weird stuff. His start got bumped to Tuesday. So apparently, despite what we're seeing posted right now, apparently we're going to have Chris Sale out there on the mound for this game. So looking at him being on the mound is a pretty big deal, obviously. He comes into this game 11-3 on the year with a 2.71 ERA. He's coming off a great start there against the Giants, and I mean, what do we really have to say about this guy? He's been one of the best pitchers, maybe the actual best pitcher in the MLB this season, so things are looking great for Chris Sale right now, and for the Braves, especially if they're going to have him on the mound. Their bullpen has been fantastic. A sub-3 bullpen ERA has them second in the majors, just looking fantastic. Like, the pen is great. Their starting pitching is looking great. Like, this team has a very solid pitching staff. We do have some questions about the offense, but they've been looking okay lately. They've scored 5, 6, and 5 runs respectively over their last 3. This team has won their last 3 games in a row to get to 50 and 39 on the season. They're 18th in the majors in runs scored and 20th in the majors in on-base percentage. So if this team has a weakness right now, it's definitely their hitting. Ozuna was really carrying the load for them early, and things have cooled off, which is to be expected. The dude was going absolutely nuts early on. So in this game, we're going to see what their offense can do going up against the Diamondbacks, who just lost game 1 of the series 5-4. They're 45 and 46 on the season, handing the ball in this one to Zach Gallen, who is 6-4 this year with a 3.06 ERA, coming off of a little bit of a hiccup of a start against the Dodgers, but it was a game we saw the Diamondbacks win 9-3. He went 4 innings, gave up 4 hits and 3 earned runs, though not exactly his best stuff. So he's going to need to bounce back here. We'll see what he can do. I mean, no big shocker here. He hasn't faced the Atlanta Braves yet this season. This Diamondbacks bullpen has been atrocious, guys. No major surprise there. They're sixth from last in the majors with a 4.44 bullpen ERA. Not exactly something to write home about. And yeah, the bats have to carry him, guys, and they do at times. I mean, this team is 5th in the majors in runs scored and 8th in the majors in batting average. They've scored 4, 9, 7, 8, and 9 runs respectively over their last 5 games. So this is a pretty good offensive team. Looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Braves at plus 105. We see the Diamondbacks at minus 120. We've got an over-under of 8.5 in this game. If we do actually end up seeing Sale on the mound, I think the Braves at plus 105 is great value, but kind of have to hold our breath and wait and see what Atlanta's actually going to do, because they, tried to screw us yesterday. So we're not putting this one in the pinned comment until we get a little bit more clarity. But in general, guys, I'm leaning towards the Braves plus 105. They're only 20 and 22 on the road, which isn't great, but Arizona's not an amazing home team. We got mixed trends towards the over-under, so I'm not really interested in that. Just give me the Braves in this one as long as we see Sale on the mound. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Seattle Mariners going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Mariners come into this game fresh off of another loss. They're having a rough time now. They've lost 2 out of their last 3 overall. They're down to 49 and 43 on the year. Only a 2-game cushion over Houston there in the AL West. They're handing the ball to Logan Gilbert in this game, who's been great this season. He's 5-5 with a 2.91 ERA. He is coming off of a tough start against the Orioles. He went 5 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs. So not exactly amazing stuff. I mean, his start before that against the Twins wasn't as good. Like, he's had his hiccups lately. It seems like this young guy is maybe having a little bit of a hard time here navigating into the rest of the season. The Mariners bullpen has been good this year, no doubt about it, but it's been trending a little bit down, guys. They're around league average now, so that's a bit of a concern for a team that leans very aggressively on its pitching staff because its offense is so terrible, guys. Over the last few games, they've scored 4, 2, 7, and 1 runs respectively. They're 27th in the majors with 350 runs scored this season. That's pretty bleak. They're dead last in team batting average, batting .217 as a team. They're 26th in the majors in on-base percentage. Like, just not a lot of great things to say about this offense, and they're going to have to score some runs going up against the Padres team, who's 49 and 45 this season. They have lost their last 2 games in a row against the Diamondbacks, so that wasn't great. They're handing the ball in this one to Adam Mauser, who, not exactly killing it out there, guys. His last start was at the Rangers. He went 4 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 earned runs. He's given up at least 4 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts. The start before that was 3 earned runs, and he doesn't go very deep into the game, which means we're going to see a healthy dose of that San Diego Padres bullpen, which is sporting a 4.14 ERA coming out of the pen, so that's not great. Lots of questions about this pitching situation, and some questions maybe about the bats right now. I mean, they scored 1, 5, and 10 runs respectively over their last 3 games. They're 8th in the majors in runs scored, though, and 2nd in the majors in team batting average, batting .263 as a team. 10th in slugging percentage, 7th in the majors and on base percentage. Like, this is a pretty decent hitting team, generally speaking. Maybe they haven't been swinging the hottest bats, but we're going to see some positive things likely. So we'll just see what happens. They've been missing Tatis a little bit here possibly, but looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Mariners at -142, the Padres at +125, and we've got an over/under of 7.5 in this game. The Mariners only 19-25 on the road, and the Padres are 25-23 at home. So immediately that makes me lean a little bit towards the Padres if it wasn't for having Adam Mauser on the mound. That is a pretty big concern. The dude is straight up not good. So looking at the over/under trends for this game, we see Seattle is actually 22-19-3 to the over when playing on the road. And we see San Diego is a massive over team at home. They are 30-17-1 to the over at home. Guys, give me over 7.5 in this game. I think we're going to see some offense. I know that the Padres haven't been hitting the ball amazing lately, but they're going to score 4 or 5 runs in this game. I would be willing to, think. And also, Mariners are going to score some runs against Mauser, guys. He is bad, and the Padres bullpen is not amazing. So I think we're going to see some runs scored in this game. I think we're going to see at least 8 of them scored, and that will get us where we need to go. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the San Francisco Giants. The Blue Jays come to this game 41-49 on the season, fresh off of 2 straight wins against the Mariners. They're handing the ball to Yusei Kikuchi, who's 4-8 this year with a 4.12 ERA. He's coming off of a good start there against the Astros. He went 5 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits and 2 earned runs, but his team let him down in a big way. They eventually lost that game 9-2. So not great stuff from the Blue Jays hitters there. The Toronto bullpen has been horrible lately, second to last in the majors with a 4.77 bullpen ERA, so that is pretty mediocre stuff. And the offense hasn't been good lately either. I mean, they've scored 5, 5, and 1 run respectively over their last 3 games. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having to do pretty much everything for this team at the plate, and there's a reason they are 24th in the majors in runs scored. They're going up against a Giants team who comes into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses, and at 44-47 on the season, not exactly where they want to be. They're handing the ball to Blake Snell in this one. He's coming off the IL from that groin injury, and the last time we saw him, he was maybe rounding into form, but now coming off the IL again, things are looking pretty bleak from a former Cy Young winner. So we'll see if he can get back on the horse and get back after it here. But big question, nothing but question marks for me about him right now. We just have no idea what we're going to see from him. We have a pretty good idea what we're going to see from that Giants bullpen. It's not a lot of great stuff, guys. Way down there, well over 4 ERA. Like, this is not a good bullpen, and the bats aren't looking too hot either, guys. They've scored 4, 4, 4, and 4 runs respectively over the last 4 games. 4 runs might get it done for teams like the Seattle Mariners, but that is not going to usually get it done for the Giants. So this middle-of-the-road offense is going to have to look a lot better for this team to be winning games. So looking at the numbers for this one, we see the Blue Jays at +110, the Giants at -122. We've got over-unders out there of 7.5 or 8. Toronto's only 20-25 on the road. The Giants are 25-19 at home. Not a lot of big trends to go on in terms of the over-under. We do have both teams showing slight trends towards the under, but not super interested in that. Honestly, not super interested in this game either way. I would say lean slightly towards the Giants -122 on the idea that Snell's going to have a great outing, but yeah, this is a stay away spot from me for sure. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.